Brit Marling is a one-of-a-kind actress, producer, and screenwriter who turned down a high-paying job in investment banking at Goldman Sachs to pursue a career in acting and filmmaking. In 2016, she succeeded in getting the series The OA on Netflix, which she also produced, wrote, and acted in. And if you like to watch indie films, you might even know Another Earth, the second feature film she produced in 2011, which was sold to Fox Searchlight for $1.5 million and won and was nominated for many awards. As always, it all looks easy and glamorous, but as is the case for most breakthroughs, there is a less-known prequel. In this episode, I want to explore how Brit Marling developed her career as filmmaker, but even more importantly, how did she have the courage to leave a rather stable career in finance to pursue something as elusive as acting and filmmaking? Brit Marling journeyed in the filmmaking space for at least 12 years until she arrived at this. But how did she even start with no formal acting training, film degree, or agent? If you are someone who wants to shift from working in a corporate career to do something more entrepreneurial and creative, then stick with me till the end because I'll walk you through how Brit Marling decided to take such a big risk, her challenges and failures along the way, and what advice she has to offer that might be useful for your own career. By the way, in case you're new to this channel and you want to keep receiving videos from me, then don't forget to subscribe. While many people in Hollywood have parents who are also in the show business, this was not the case for Brit Marling. Her own parents were real estate developers, and Marling used to play in unfinished houses, not unlike the one in the OA, performing characters and lives. In this affluent milieu, the expectations for young people were more limited than Marling's imagination. Lawyer, doctor, investment banker. Tell me if you can relate to this. Brit Marling grew up in an environment where she was only exposed to a limited range of jobs. When you grow up in such an environment, it can be really difficult to imagine yourself doing something else because it feels like going against the stream. And even though no one is telling you not to become a filmmaker or not to become a game designer, it can be harder to envision and it takes more conscious effort. And what did Brit Marling's parents think about this? When she was still a child, Brit was actually more interested in artistic pursuits, but her parents did not really seem to support this, like most parents, so she studied economics instead. Marling grew up in Winnetka, Illinois, and Orlando, Florida, where she attended the arts program at Dr. Phillips High School. Marling was interested in acting, but her parents encouraged her to focus on academics. So initially, she took the path of least resistance, which was going the safer route. It wasn't the case that she was not interested in economics at all, but it wasn't her first choice. Marling went to Georgetown to study economics because she loved math, hanging out in the library until 2 a.m. with fellow nerds, solving proofs. And studying economics quite naturally led to an internship opportunity in investment banking. She majored in economics and studio art at Georgetown, and after her junior year was snapped up by the Goldman Sachs summer intern program. At Goldman Sachs, Brit Marling was then offered a job, the kind of job that would promise a career that many people would dream of: recognition, excitement, and most of all, a fat paycheck and bonuses. However, far from inspiring her, she was completely turned off. So she decided to turn it down and leave. In an interview with Off Camera, Brit said, "I couldn't understand why all of these bright, excited young people found themselves here. No one was asking us to reinvent anything. It was just, here's the model, plug the numbers into the model. I had a moment there where I was like, I'm going to die. Is this what I want to do day to day? Either I can have this career with safe, predictable outcomes, or I can work my butt off doing something I love. Yes, it's dangerous, and yes, I may be broke all the time, but I'll be happy." So Brit Marling was well aware of how risky it was, and she was well prepared to forego all the financial rewards.
I think what I did is I accidentally lived the backup plan first. So there was just no backup plan. So it just felt like, well, it's this or it's nothing. And that kind of, I think, you put a different energy then into it because there's no safety net. You know, you're walking the high wire and you just can't fall.
And at this point, you might think, well, she might have very rich parents who would allow her to just pursue her dreams. Although we know that her parents are in real estate development, it seems that they are a middle-class family, which would not give her the luxury to just live off her parents' income and just go off and pursue whatever she liked. So instead of accepting the job at Goldman Sachs, Brit Marling decided to go to Cuba to make a documentary with another Georgetown student, Mike Cale. Zal Batmanglij was another student at Georgetown. He studied with Mike Cale and they co-directed a short together. Brit Marling saw their film and asked to collaborate. Very smart move, by the way. Brit made Boxers and Ballerinas, which she wrote and directed. And this was in 2004, way before she entered mainstream entertainment with the OA in 2016. 12 years, in fact. It took many more years until she got to make the OA, which by the way was produced by Brad Pitt's Plan B Entertainment. I bet that she never would have imagined that one day that would become a reality. Then in 2005, she graduated. She graduated from Georgetown University in 2005 with degrees in economics and studio art and was her class valedictorian. After that, she went all in. In 2005, Marling moved with Cale and Batmanglij to Los Angeles. So the three friends packed their bags and pursued their dreams in LA. And for some time, Brit Marling tried to pursue an acting career through the traditional path of auditioning. She attended auditions and was offered roles in horror films, but turned them down. Could you imagine where Brit Marling would be now had she given up back then, perhaps back at Goldman Sachs? So Brit Marling, a beautiful, young, intelligent, and talented woman, auditioned and auditioned, but it just didn't work out for her. She didn't get any roles except for those that were garbage, so she had to find another way. And she was very resourceful. In 2007, she acted in the short film Recordist, written and directed by Zal Batmanglij. And from there, she managed to pick up steam. She realized the possibilities of self-producing and casting herself in her own movies. So she produced and wrote 2 feature films, Sound of My Voice and Another Earth, in which she also acted in. For many fans who got to know Brit Marling from the OA, it might appear as though she just came out of nowhere, as though she was an overnight success. But it's quite apparent that that's not the case at all. And this is what surfaced in an interview with Vulture. When Brit Marling was a kid at camp in Wisconsin, she told ghost stories late at night to girls in her cabin. And remember, she also took an arts program when she was still a teen back in high school, as if she revisited a childhood dream until taking a long detour. She failed at numerous auditions, but from that experience, she learned exactly what she wanted to avoid. And she developed an interesting approach to failure, which was learning from other people's failures, which in this case was bad scripts. And then I was reading so many bad scripts as an actor, and sometimes reading bad things from scripts that don't work helps you understand. Her earlier films, Sound of My Voice, Another Earth, and The East, which is a political thriller, were all critically acclaimed, but they weren't really mainstream. But it took her all these different experiences until she got to the point where she had this portfolio, and most importantly, the skill set that allowed her to collaborate with bigger names. And another thing that can unexpectedly propel your career forward is extreme and unusual experiences. For some time, Brit Marling lived as a freegan, and that gave her a completely new view on life and new ideas. Inspiration for the film came from the summer that Marling and Batmanglij spent living as freegans, freezing their bank accounts for 10 weeks. They slept rough, hopped trains, and ate from rubbish bins. And it's not that I'm an advocate of this kind of lifestyle at all, but the point here is that you need to give yourself the opportunity and the time to experience something totally new and different. And here's a very good piece of advice that Brit has that could perhaps give you a nudge.
Life is so short, and so I think if you really hold that concept of time in your head, you find yourself capable of pretty radical things if you can give yourself permission to not be afraid, you know, because you only get one round of it.
So what's the most unique part of Brit Marling's career? I would say that it is the autonomy that she managed to maintain. Instead of becoming part of the Hollywood machine, she did success her way, stardom her way, as it says in this article. She writes and produces her own material. Marling has already noticed that being able to write and produce has given her a distinct sense of autonomy. My mentality is a little off from the typical actor mentality, she said modestly. If I read something and it isn't good, if it doesn't stir me, I never think to myself, well, I'll just do this until I can do the thing that I want to do. I always think, if I could write something better than this, then I shouldn't do it. She set and followed her own standard of success and moved at her own pace instead of following the normal route that most actors would take. Perhaps that way she didn't move as fast, but at least she kept her soul intact. And what about money? Although she didn't make money doing what she loved most in the beginning, she got there eventually. Her breakthrough film, Another Earth, was sold for $1.5 million. And according to wealthygenius.com, she makes $300,000 per year. And of course, this is a very rough estimate because the numbers are not really transparent. But from what I can estimate, this seems to be very much within the ballpark of what is possible. Here's the question that I have at this point. Had her films not been as successful and had she not earned money from her films, would everything still be worth it? What do you think about this? If you found this video useful, then you might also enjoy the other videos in this series. So don't forget to check out my other videos, and thank you so much for watching.